So you have been waiting a couple of years now to buy a home. You have been waiting on interest rates to fall for the last couple of years, but the feds are not lowering interest rates enough for you to jump into becoming a new homeowner. What you wouldn't give to have the low interest rates that we had 4 years ago. You start having some regret that you didn't take action and buy a home back then or a couple of years ago. You're also noticing home prices are still high, and it looks like neither interest rates nor home prices will be coming down anytime soon. So you say, forget it, I've had enough. I want to be a homeowner in the new year, and I will buy a home in 2025 if it's the last thing that I do. But wait a minute, is it really smart to buy a home right now? I'm going to give you the facts so that you can have the knowledge to know if buying a home in 2025 is a good decision for you. My name is Cherilyn Williams, your local Chicagoland Realtor, helping you build your dreams through real estate. And I specialize in helping home buyers and first-time home buyers in Chicagoland find their dream homes. And if you need help finding a home in the Chicago area, my contact information is in the description below. And also, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel for weekly real estate content just for you. If you want to buy a home in 2025, it really is going to depend on you, your financial stability, and your local real estate market on what you can afford. The best thing that you can do is to prepare and plan ahead of time to buy a home no matter when you plan to buy. But in today's real estate market with high home prices and high interest rates, many of you may find that you may not be able to buy your dream home or forever home that you always thought you would buy when buying your first home. And that is okay. You can always live in your first home for a few years, and if things change with interest rates or home prices come down in the future, you can sell your first home and use your equity from that home to upscale to your dream home. I always say it's better to buy something below your means instead of above your means. It's also better to go ahead and buy something now as long as you can afford it. So let's dive into the 10 ways to know if buying a home in 2025 will be the right thing for you. And just keep in mind, these are my 10 suggestions to help you as a guide. But of course, you can do whatever you want to do. Number one, you have amazing credit and an excellent credit score. If your credit score is over 650 and higher, you are in great standing to buy a home. So go check your credit and see where you stand. And just one thing to add, if you're going to check your credit score, Credit Karma is not the best place to check your credit and is often inaccurate in telling your true score. The reason for this is that Credit Karma uses a Vantage score and not your FICO score that lenders use. So here are a few great places where you can actually check your true FICO score. Try checking with your credit card companies and your bank. You can also check with the 3 credit bureaus like Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. You can also do a paid monthly subscription to MyFICO to regularly check to see what your credit score is. Now, don't get me wrong, you can have a lower credit score than a 650 to buy a home, but the better your credit score, the better deal you'll get on your mortgage, and it will be easier to get approved by a lender. Lenders view a good to great credit score as a sign that you're likely to repay your debts and you have the financial management skills to handle owning a home. The lender wants to be sure you won't default on this big loan they're about to place on you. The second way to know if you can buy a home is if you have a savings account with some money in it. If you have enough money in your savings account where you can put down 20% to buy a home, that's awesome. But you do not have to have that large of a down payment to buy a home because that is a large chunk of change depending on the price of the home you buy. In my opinion, if you can save 5% for a down payment, this may be a good sign that you are ready to buy. And for many of you renters, a down payment is pretty much the same amount of money that you would put down as a security deposit and first and last month's rent for a rental apartment. So to look at a down payment in an example, if you wanted to buy a $300,000 home and you put 5% down, you would need to have $15,000 for your down payment. So the bigger your down payment, the more you will save over the lifetime of your mortgage loan. Also, with the more money you put down, it will lower your monthly mortgage payments right from the start. And we also have to remember that you will need money for your closing costs as well. Your closing costs are all the fees that are required to process your loan. And closing costs usually are 1 to 3% of the purchase price. So with a $300,000 home, you can expect to pay a range between $3,000 to $9,000 in closing costs. Now, it is important to examine your market. If you do not like what you see in your price range, you may want to think about waiting and continuing to save. One thing that I almost forgot to mention is that lenders would like to see that you also have emergency funds in a savings account. A lot of lenders like to see that you have at least 6 months in reserves in your savings in case some unforeseen circumstances happens in your life, like a job loss. They want to know that you have the funds available to make your monthly payments. The third way to know if you're ready to buy is if you are starting to see the light at the end of the long tunnel in paying off your debts. Paying off your debt will not only improve your credit score, but it will also free up cash to cover a mortgage payment and home maintenance. If you have been working hard to pay off or reducing your credit cards and student loans, it might be the time to buy a home. Some people ask, is it necessary to pay off all debt to buy a home? And the answer is absolutely not. Lenders do not expect you to be completely debt-free when getting approved. Of course, it doesn't hurt, but it's not necessary. However, the lower your debt load, the better loan terms you will get and the more house you can qualify for. The fourth way to know if 2025 will be a great time to buy a home is if you know that you will live in the neighborhood you want to live in for several years or longer. If you are not planning on staying in an area for 3 to 5 years, you might not break even on your home sale. And the worst thing is that you may actually lose money. So renting may make more sense. And you also don't want to forget about capital gain taxes. If you sell a home after only living in the home for less than 2 years, you could end up paying more taxes than if you held onto it longer. The fifth way is if you know your job or career is not stable. If you are worried about losing your job next month, it is not time to buy a house. It is important to look at both your current position and your overall career trajectory in the future to know if you should buy. Sometimes you can have a great job now, but if anything changes with your job, like maybe your job may want you to relocate at some point to another area, buying a home may not make sense. The sixth way to know is simply if your lifestyle supports it. Maybe you are ready to settle down because you and your partner need more space from working from home, or your kids want a backyard to play in, or you're just plain ready. Whatever the reason, owning a house would be easier in many ways than renting for your lifestyle. By contrast, if your relationship is on the rocks, maybe it's not the best time to buy. It's not as easy to move out of a house you own together as it is an apartment you're renting jointly. So keep that in mind. The seventh way is you do not mind sacrificing some flexibility for stability. It is a lot harder to sell a house than to break a lease, but the trade-off is really worth it for some people. When you buy a house, you can't just pick up and move for a new job or relationship. Any major life change could take months to a year. You are also tying up a large chunk of change in a home, which can mean missing out on other opportunities. For example, like if you have family or friends that ask you to invest in their successful business, you may have to pass. Or if you've been wanting to buy the new 2025 Tesla, those plans may have to wait on the back burner because your money is all tied up into your home and other home responsibilities. So be sure to know if stability is more important to you than flexibility. If so, buying a home may be the right choice. The eighth way is if you want more privacy and control over your living space. If you are sick and tired of hearing your upstairs neighbor's kids running all over your ceiling in your apartment, or you are tired of your neighbor's loud music and you just want more space and privacy, now may be the right time to buy a home. I'm telling you, home ownership requires more responsibilities, but you receive more privacy and control. The only way that you may be more restricted in the control department is if you move into a community that has an HOA where they create certain rules and regulations for all the homeowners in a community. So if you want to have total control of your living space and privacy, stay away from HOAs, which mainly will be like condos and townhomes. The ninth way is if buying a home is not too disruptive for your life. If it's September and your kids just started school, now may not be the best time to buy. When kids are out of school and you can get them in a better school district, it could be a great time to buy. If you have more leeway and are not hampered in any way, then you could time your home purchase to when you are likely to get a great deal. Now, my 10th and final way to know if 2025 is the right year for you to buy is if you are just plain tired of paying rent and it is only getting more expensive. If you are growing tired of unresponsive landlords, them not fixing things in a timely manner, or constant rent increases, it might be time to give your landlord a notice. Paying rent does not build wealth for the future, but owning a home builds equity. Buying a home is sort of like a forced savings plan because you will get some of the money back whenever you sell. In some markets, it makes better sense to buy than to rent, even after factoring in property taxes, homeowners insurance, and maintenance. If rent prices are rising, it may make sense to buy. And right now, with high home prices for some markets, it makes better sense to rent. So you really want to take the time to educate yourself on your local market and compare if it makes sense to your values and needs. So this was my top 10 ways to help you know if you should buy a home in 2025. And if most of these 10 things checked off on your list, you may be in really great standing to buy a home in 2025. I do think some things mentioned in my list are more important than others, like having a stable income and having good credit, but you have to prioritize what is important to you, your family, and your lifestyle. Thank you for watching.